And one of the biggest mistakes that people make when doing their GCSEs, you want to strengthen the networks in your brain which are activated when you do the exam. This is what you've been waiting for the entire video. The most important part in getting a grade 9 in any subject and scoring top 1%. Hey guys, it's Shola, and if you don't know me, I'm a third-year dental student studying in London, and on my channel I basically give tips and tricks on how to get grade 9s and A stars in your GCSEs and A levels. I'm going to be telling you how I scored in the top 1% of GCSEs, scoring an A star in every single subject, and how you can ace your exams too. So to score in the top 1% of the country wasn't easy. Most of you probably think that I did nothing but study. I stayed in my room for the entire day. I didn't go out. This is not the case, and it doesn't have to be the case. You just need to revise effectively and also using the grade 9 method that I'm going to tell you in this video in order to get similar grades. So this video is very comprehensive. It has almost everything that I did to get a grade 9. It took a lot out of me to make this video, so be sure to show your appreciation by giving a like, comment and subscribe for more content like this. Let's jump straight into it. As I always say, be sure to grab a cup of tea, get your notepad and get your pen, and let me tell you how you can get grade 9s in everything. Okay, so the first point I'm going to talk about is mindset, and don't click off this video. I know it's not what you want to hear, but mindset does really affect you and affect how much you can achieve. I'm not going to give that stereotypical teacher speech about growth mindset, closed mindset, blah blah. They're actually speaking truth when they say mindset affects your grades, because it really does. It's so important. You can't expect yourself to get a grade 9 if you're constantly telling yourself you're going to fail. When you're talking down on yourself, it's almost as if you want to fail, you don't want to get a good grade. You need to stop all of this negative talk, stop all of this bad mindset where you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna fail, I'm not good at this subject, I'm not good at math. You're never not good at anything. You just need to practice more, and that's the main thing. Do not speak bad things into existence, please. Let me actually tell you how much mindset matters. So in a 2017 study, McKinsey and Company revealed that mindset matters even more than socioeconomic background when it comes to achieving success. Let's actually break that down. Let's actually deep that sentence. To break it down, for academic achievement and success, your motivation, your mindset behind all of this is more important than your background, than where you come from, than how much money you have. Obviously, I'm going to be realistic. Depending on your situation, there will be barriers. It's naive to think that there won't be. If you're struggling in the house, if there's not enough space for you, if you have to look after your little siblings, these are all things that will play barriers to you achieving good grades, but you are capable of achieving those good grades. There are situations where you have to make adaptations. You have to adapt to your living situation. If there's not enough space for you to revise quietly in your house, then go outside, go to the cafe, go to the library, come to school early or stay at school for longer. Make these changes in your life so that you can prioritize your education, because at the end of the day, no one's going to force you to revise, no one's going to force you to make these changes. But if you really want it, then you'll be able to make some adaptations to your life where you can achieve these good grades. Like if you just want to pass your GCSEs, that is fine. Like don't think I'm telling you to go out of your way to wake up at 6 a.m, go school, revise. But if you do want to achieve academic success, you do want to make your family proud, or you do want to get into a very competitive career path, then please change your mindset. Don't let these barriers hold you down. Here are things to change in your mindset. You are not bad at maths, you just need to practice more. You aren't gonna fail your exams, you are gonna pass with flying colors. If no one else tells you these stuff, then make sure that you tell them to yourself. You are your biggest motivator. As I said before, no one's gonna force you to revise. My mantra before walking into any exam was, I'm gonna pass this exam with flying colors, I'm gonna get a grade 9, and that's fact. Like I told myself that before every single exam. I know it sounds full of myself, but like even if I didn't get a grade 9 at the end, that's okay. But telling yourself that is allowing yourself to go in with the best mindset that you can, so that at least when you walk in, you know that you worked your hardest and that was the best that you can do, rather than walk into the exam hall with a negative mindset from the get-go, so that when the exam starts to get hard, when the exam starts to challenge you, you just give up. You just need to walk in with a positive mindset. Even if it's unrealistic, like just do it, because I promise you it will make a difference. So now let's move on to the next point, which is how to manage your time. This is very important because you shouldn't be managing your time the same way throughout the year. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make when doing their GCSEs is making the standard revision timetable that doesn't change throughout the year. They hardly ever look at it. They don't even follow it. This is just one of the most ineffective things that you can do when revising, and I really recommend that you don't do this. So your timetable should be dynamic. You should never make a timetable with a mindset that you're going to keep it this way throughout the year. Timetable should change when you have mocks, when you don't have mocks, when you're introduced to hard topics in certain subjects. It should always be changing to fit you. You shouldn't copy your timetable from someone else, because that person is not you and you don't have the same difficulties and weaknesses that they do. So the key to getting amazing grades is to prioritize the topics you don't understand and the subjects that you don't understand compared to those that you're really good at. The aim of revising is to get good at everything, so you have to start off with what you're worse at and then gradually build up to what you're better at, so that you can have good all-round knowledge of every topic before you come to your exams. So one of the questions people always ask me is, how much should I be revising? And I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't tell you how much you should be revising because I don't know how long you can focus for, but here is my general guide. You can obviously change this depending on you and depending on when you lose focus, but if you're in year 10, I recommend that you should revise like 1 hour a day if you can. Maybe increase it to 1 hour 30 before mocks, or depending on how long you can focus, honestly. But the main thing is, do not burn yourself out in year 9 and 10, because these are not the important years. It's good to understand everything in year 9 and year 10 because that makes year 11 much easier, but year 9 and year 10 is not the time that you should be going hard. You're going to burn out before it comes to year 11, and year 11 is where you should conserve all of your energy for. So I would recommend give or take 1 hour. You can add more, you can reduce it depends on you. When it comes to year 11, I would recommend 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and you can obviously build this up when it comes to before exams, so like 2.5 hours, 3 hours if you can. Obviously this is not for every single day. You're not going to have the motivation to revise that long every single day. This is just like a general thing to go by and what I use personally. So yeah, don't come and kill me in the comments saying, oh, this is too much, this is too little, because it just depends on you. Do not force yourself to revise for like 5 hours, do this 10-hour study with me. It's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to learn that much and you're going to be really tired at the end of it. Just because Sally is doing 6 hours and she's posting it on her Instagram story doesn't mean you should also be doing the same. To be honest, Sally's probably not even revising for the majority of those 6 hours. So just focus on yourself, honestly. And let me show you how I would make my general timetable if I was in year 10 or year 11. Okay, so the template that I'm going to be using in this video, I'll link it in the description. So let me show you how I would fill it up. So the first thing you should do is block out any school time, hobbies that you want to do, clubs. Don't lose sight of real life just because you have exams. GCSEs are important, but you shouldn't let them take over everything in your life. So be sure to block out the times that you're busy or that you want to do something in particular. So now that you blocked out all of your school times, your clubs, etc, etc, it's time to block out some free time. So what I mean by this is, I personally like to take a break once I come back from school. I don't like to just jump into work. I don't like to jump into revising because it just makes me very overwhelmed and I start to get headaches. So I would personally recommend like a 1 hour 30-minute break once you get home, just to relax, watch your favorite show, just do whatever you want in this free time, just to give yourself a bit of a refresh before you go into revision mode. In terms of homework, I would say you should try to get this out of the way as quick as possible. Homework is important in a sense. It does show your teacher if you're serious or not, and it also can help you memorize content, but most of the time homework is not as effective as exam questions and personal revision, so you really don't want to spend too much time doing homework. I really recommend either doing it in the morning or doing it as the first thing once you get back home. Obviously, if you don't have any homework on the day that it's scheduled for, just jump straight into revision. Let me tell you how you can customize your timetable to your weakest subjects. If you haven't already watched my semi-viral video on how to get all 9s, be sure to watch it because this is basically going to be a rehash of what I said then. Let me just summarize what you should do. Write down all of the subjects that you do in order of difficulty, and then write down all of the topics of the subject also in order of difficulty. You can use your specification to help you to do this. So hypothetically, let's say you want to do 10 hours of revision during the school week and you want to do 4 hours of revision on the weekend. This is how you would set your priorities in your different subjects. So the first 30 minutes of each day can be spent doing homework or can be spent on your weakest subject, so just a really quick thing to do in the morning. For me personally, I would probably do maths because maths requires the most practice in my opinion. I would do an activity that doesn't require much brain power, so for example, pull bet 5 a day. So in total you would be doing 14 hours of revision per week. And in terms of the weekend, I wouldn't recommend that you do too much revision because you do want to feel refreshed for the new week ahead. you will have to focus on lessons, so you don't want to burn yourself out in the weekend. Recommend you keep one day almost completely free as your rest day, because if you go to gym, you know that you wouldn't go to gym for 14 days straight. You would take a rest day, and it's the same with studying. If you don't take a rest day with studying, you're going to lose motivation and you're going to burn out. So always take a break, especially in the weekend. So now you should divide the total amount of hours you want to revise for by the total amount of GCSEs that you're doing. So I did 9 GCSEs, so I would divide 14 by 9, and now you assign each subject a number depending on the difficulty. So for something like RS, I really love RS and I find it the easiest subject for me, so I would give it a 1. So you times this 1 by the 1.6 and you get 1.6. You do similar things for the other subjects. For example, physics. Let's say I was getting a 5 but I wanted to get an 8 and I was really struggling with it. I would assign it a higher number. I would give it a 3 and I'll times the 3 by 1.6 and I'll get whatever number. Let's say biology, I like it but I'm a bit behind on the content. I would do 2 times 1.6, etc, etc, and you would just do this until you get back up to the number of GCSEs that you do. So you would get up to 9 lots of 1.6. I hope this makes some kind of sense. It's just to make sure that you have an accurate distribution of your hours spent revising. Just make it realistic and doable. And a major tip for doing your timetable, I would not recommend that you revise something that you had for last period, because you're just gonna get really tired of that subject and you're not gonna like it. So definitely do something new, do something fresh, so that it's more motivating for you to do once you get home. Obviously, you don't need to follow this timetable all the time. Change it depending on how you're doing, your grades, any hard topics, and just keep changing it throughout the year. Don't feel like you have to keep the same thing. And also be smart. Like when you have mocks and you have like biology paper 2 on the next day, you shouldn't be revising physics paper 1. It's just gonna get you confused and you're just not gonna be prepared for the biology. So just be smart with the way you schedule things. Refer back to the timetable that I just taught you how to make and see if there needs to be any adjustments. For example, if you're starting to get good at physics but you're now struggling in chemistry, you need to change your priorities in order to reflect that. When you're making your timetable in exam period, you should try to make these times as long as an exam in that subject would take you. For example, if your maths paper is 1 hour 45 minutes, you should try and make each session of maths be 1 hour 45 minutes. It just gets you used to the timing and also gives you time to go through a past paper if you want to do that in that period. You can step up from 1.5 hours to 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and obviously you might need more rest days because of this. Now the main thing when making your timetable is try to be accountable and try to actually follow it. There's no point of you spending 40 minutes, 1 hour making a good timetable and then not even using it. Obviously I'm going to be realistic. There's going to be days where you don't want to do anything, and that's okay. Try to follow it as best as you can. You will feel some initial discomfort, you'll feel tired, you won't want to do it, but once you complete it, you'll be very glad and very happy to yourself that you did, because the exam is just going to be much easier for you. On the other side of that, know your limits, don't push yourself too hard. Now I'm going to be telling you what you came here for, and this is how to revise to get grade 9. I feel like once you get into GCSEs, no one actually tells you how to revise. Like you just get thrown into the deep end and you get all of these kind of things like mind maps, flashcards, blurting. You just wonder, what can I actually do to get a grade 9 with minimal effort in the most effective method? And here is what you need to do. The whole point of revision is for it to be active. There's no point of you reading your textbook, reading your notes over and over again, highlighting it. That's what I used to do in year 9, year 10, and when I tell you, it didn't get me anywhere. Like sometimes I thought, oh my gosh, I know this topic, I'm gonna get 4 marks. When I tell you I almost failed that paper just because all I did was highlighting, please don't make the same mistakes as I did and learn from this. Think about it. Who do you think will get better results? Someone who is watching someone run a marathon or someone who is actually running a marathon? Let's actually think about it, because it's not that hard. The person who is practicing to run a marathon will always get better than the person who's just watching someone do it. So if you're reading your notes over and over again and that's your only source of revision and you're expecting to get grade 9, sorry to say it, but the likelihood of that happening is so low. And there are things that you could be doing which will take you less time and be more effective in the long run. So all parts of revision should be active. You will feel discomfort and you will feel a mental pain when you do it, but it does work out in the long run and it does get easier. So that's enough talking. How do you actually actively revise? You want to strengthen the networks in your brain which are activated when you do the exam. And this is by retrieving this information from your brain and repeating this so much that when it comes to the exam, the answers fly out of your head. There are 3 ways of doing this. So let's talk about blurting. So blurting is a term that was popularized by StudyTuber Unjaded Jane, and she basically gave this whole revision technique a new name. This revision technique is basically how you can upgrade your revision method. So blurting is particularly good for essay-based subjects such as history, English, because it's just really fast and it's really effective in the long run. So what you want to do is write the topic that you're blurting in the middle of the paper, set yourself a timer, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on how much content is in the topic. And then you want to write down everything that you can remember about that topic. Go into as much detail as you can. Put quotes, put dates, put names, put everything that you can remember onto that sheet. Initially, when you're first doing it, I'm not gonna lie to you, the paper's probably gonna be blank. It's probably gonna have a few words on it, but I promise you, if you keep at it, even though there's some discomfort, eventually that whole page is going to be full. Once you finish the timer or you can't write anymore, then it's time to use another pen, maybe red, to write in the things that you missed. And if you keep repeating this over a long period of time or a short period of time, you will see an improvement in your retention and also in your exam questions. And it should come to a point that when that subtopic comes up in the exam, you can almost see and visualize this blur at the back of your head, and it's just really cool and it really helps you to answer the questions really quickly. Okay, now the second method is flashcards. And I know probably everyone's used flashcards in their life, but are you using them correctly? I've seen way too many instances where people are making the most ineffective flashcards. Like, it's just them rewriting their notes into flashcards. If you want to read your notes, that's okay, read your notes, but there's no point of converting it from one paper to another. Flashcards are supposed to be active, and what that means is the front of the flashcard should be a question and the back should be the answer. And you should try and make the question as close to the exam as it can be. This is just to prepare you for the exam and just to reinforce questions that always come up. You should go over these until you're like 80% confident. There probably won't be a time where you're 100% confident in every single flashcard over every subject, and that's okay. But the aim is to get as confident as you can. I recommend doing these online. I did most of mine physically when I was in GCSE, and this just meant that I lost some of them over the course of the 2 years, and this is just really annoying, especially when you put effort into it. So I really recommend using Anki or Quizlet. Paper flashcards are really good because you're able to use them during lessons, and I assume most schools wouldn't allow you to use your phone or your iPad during class. And to form the question, make sure you use the specification. The specification is basically your best friend in getting a grade 9 in a subject. I repeat this in every video so badly because so many people don't even view the specification in their 2 years of GCSEs, and that's just really shocking because this PDF literally tells you every single thing that you need to know. If you don't view it in the process of doing your GCSEs, then I actually don't know for you, because it's just a really simple PDF that you can go through in your own time. So just go through it. So let's go through how I would make a flashcard. So I picked this random point in the specification. It's from AQA Biology and it's on viral diseases. So this point in the specification basically tells us everything we need to know. It talks about measles, what it is, the symptoms, and how it's spread, and also how it's treated. I would make one flashcard for this, but it would have a few questions on it. So it would be, what is malaria, how is it spread, and how is it treated? And then I'll obviously get my answers from the textbook or my notes. If you can answer basic questions like this, and when it comes to the exam and you have to apply yourself, it will be much easier. Here is also a major tip that really helped me in the run-up to my exam. It is a lazy version of flashcards. So what I used to do was make a list of questions on Word. This will just go over every specification point, but I wouldn't put the answers at the back. And the reason I did this was because sometimes you don't have time to make flashcards, especially when it comes to exam season. You just want to memorize those last topics really, really quickly. The way you find the answer for these is that you have to read through your notes. The process of you looking for the answer and finding it is going to reinforce that information in your brain even more. It's just a really quick way to make sure that you cram the topic. Okay, finally, let's move on to the last point, which is the most important part in getting a grade 9 in any subject. This is what you've been waiting for the entire video. The most important part in getting a grade 9 in any subject and scoring top 1% is exam questions and past papers. I know you guys don't want to hear it, like you've heard it every single video and I always say it, but it's the truth. There's no way that you're going to get a good grade if you don't practice using these papers. These papers are free and you can access them so easily that if you don't do it, you're actually just playing yourself. There is no secret potion in getting good grades apart from practicing. If you think about it, it makes sense. Like, what better way is there to get better at an exam than doing exams that the same exam board made? Like, there's no better way. Flashcards, blurting, they help, but nothing will beat the real exam. At the end of the day, the specification is always the same. It's just that the questions differ slightly. Like, if you actually sit down and you go through all of the maths papers from like 2011, you will see that they do ask the same questions. It's just different units, different numbers. It's just the same thing. So essentially, the more questions you do, the more exposure you get to these exam questions, and the more likely you are to get it right in the actual exam. Here are the best places to get exam questions and practice papers from, so note all of this down. For maths, I would recommend Maths Made Easy, Corbett Maths, Maths Genie, and find your official exam board website. For me, it would have been Edexcel. For English, I would recommend going to Mr. Bruff, Mr. Sally's, Stacey Ray, and they have really good things on their YouTube channel. You can just copy the question that they use as an exemplar and write your own question on it. But when you're doing this, be sure not to read the answers first, because you're just playing yourself and cheating, and it's not really going to be effective in the long run. And also, don't forget the official exam board. For example, for me, it would be AQA, because they have their own past papers. For science, I would recommend my GCSE Science and Is It Some Math Tutor. They literally have almost every possible question that could come up. It's just that it will be slightly different in your actual exam, so definitely be sure to utilize that website. For other subjects, I would really recommend just going to the official exam board or getting a workbook or past paper set from that exam board. The workbooks by CGP are actually really helpful as well. The most important thing about exam questions is that you should be doing them all the time, like constantly. I know it sounds repetitive, it sounds boring, but it's the thing that's going to stay in your brain the most. Once you get a question wrong, I feel like it gets embedded in your mind and it's less likely that you'll get it wrong again. Flashcards and blurting are sweet and they do help you, but exam questions are the best way to go. And that brings me to the importance of teachers. Please, please, please don't have beef with your teachers, especially during GCSE time. Like, sort out everything. Let's be friendly to our teachers. Let's do our homework on time, because teachers are the people that you should go to when you're struggling, when you need help. Because you can do exam questions, but sometimes the mark scheme is not clear at all and you just don't understand it. The best person to go to is your teacher or someone else in that department. So please try to be friendly to your teachers. They really do appreciate it, and most of them do want the best for you. Obviously, ask when they're free or ask after a lesson. Don't interrupt a whole lesson just to ask a question about something you did in your own time. It's a bit rude, as you can probably tell. There was some times where I had to stay after school with my teacher and just go through questions I underlined and didn't understand. And honestly, when it came to the exam, I was so grateful that I did this, because it's better to not understand it during the year than to not understand it until the exam. You're just leaving yourself a vulnerability, and there'll be no way that you'll be able to answer the question. It will be blank, and that's such a waste of marks. So yeah, definitely don't underestimate the power of your teachers. It only takes them like 5 or 10 minutes out of their day to help you, and it could possibly change your grade by like 1 to 2 levels, so it's really important. Swallow your pride and do it. To conclude, in order to score in the top 1%, manage your time effectively, revise actively, and follow up everything with exam questions and practice in order to get grade 8s and grade 9s in all of your subjects. I really hope this video helped you, and if you got to the end, this is your sign to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.